and welcome to this week's YouTube video. Do you ever wonder how long you should be able to complete a painting in? I am going to discuss this issue in this video and explain why comparing yourself to other artists is a bad idea. I will be showing you my painting of Digby, which was a recent commission, and explaining my process and how long it took me from beginning to end. The reference photo that the customer provided has been taken by a professional photographer, so I didn't need to fix the photo in any way before I started, or make any decisions about difficult areas. It was quite simple in this respect and saved me time. Very often I have to fix things before I start and spend a few hours figuring out my composition, colour harmonies and deciding how I'm going to paint it. Generally, I would say asking how long a painting should take is a bit like asking how long a piece of string is, because it depends. It depends how experienced the artist is. Very often, when you watch a painting tutorial from an experienced artist, it is easy to forget how many hours of practice it has taken them to get to this point. Usually it is tens of thousands of hours, and this is why they can paint a really good painting alla prima in around 1 to 2 hours. It is those tens of thousands of hours of practice that have enabled them to do this. If you are a relatively inexperienced artist, you should not be comparing your painting time to their painting time, nor should you be attempting to paint a finished picture in around 1 to 2 hours, because it will look rushed. You should be attempting to do the best painting that you can, and this will take as long as it takes. If every time you paint you aim to give it your best effort, you will naturally get quicker as you rack up more hours of practice. Alla prima painting is, in my opinion, the hardest kind of painting to do because you have to go straight in correctly. That means that the paint that you lay has to be correct in value, temperature and colour. By knowing how to handle the paint confidently and what brushes to use will help you get your edges right. You also need to know that your drawing is correct too, and very often in the throes of a painting this will go awry. The more inexperienced you are, the less likely you are to be able to do this, and the more tentative you will be with the paint. So it is really best not to compare yourself against other artists. Take your time. The race is only with yourself. How is this relevant to my painting of Digby? Well, I don't often paint foliage, and because of this, I was not quite sure how to do it. I was just unpracticed. If you look at my palette, you will see I have the following colours laid out: cadmium yellow light, yellow ochre light, transparent yellow oxide, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, transparent red oxide, ultramarine deep, titanium zinc white. I've mixed up a few others too. These are a black red and a black green. When I mix these two together, they give me my black, a purple and 2 oranges and 2 other greens. However, it becomes very obvious to me that my mixed greens just aren't going to give me the colours I want. I am struggling because the reference photo has been digitally professionally photoshopped, so my greens have been boosted quite a bit and they are not supernatural. I add Viridian to my palette and also transparent brown oxide. This gives me the ability to mix dark greens by adding the transparent brown and Viridian together. The mid-greens by mixing Viridian and yellow ochre light and white in various amounts together, and for my lighter green I add a little cadmium yellow light plus more white. Of course, I would have arrived at this decision quicker had I been more practiced at painting foliage. If you feel you are struggling with a painting, ask yourself, how often do I attempt to paint this subject matter and use these range of colours? Green can be quite tricky to use, and you need to be really careful with foliage and not to add too much blue. Foliage generally tends to have much more warmth in it, like red for example, than blue, but I struggled quite a bit with mixing my colours because the photo image was quite heavily adjusted. It actually took me 3 attempts to get that background correct. Background foliage needs to be painted roughly, expressively with a larger brush. The camera will capture all the detail, but don't be tempted to try and paint this in because the eye would not see it in this way. Be bold with a large brush and try to be expressive with it. If it takes a few attempts to get this, as it did me, don't worry about it. As long as you are not muddying up your paint, if there is too much paint on your canvas, just scrape it back and have another go at applying it. Painting Digby was a lot easier because I have painted Cocker Spaniels before, so I knew what to do. As he is in the woodland, I also needed to make sure I am mixing Viridian into my cooler colours so that he is integrated as much as possible into his surroundings. For my darker browns, I mixed this orange into my purple and it gave me this warm dark colour. Where I needed to push the value darker, I would add some of my black red to that mix. Because this photo was taken in cool light, it makes it a little easier to paint. As I lighten my paint for the lighter sections of the fur, I can do this with white and not worry too much about having to compensate for the desaturation of my colours. This is how colour behaves in Northern Light. The warms are in the shadows, where I need to add more colour, and the cool sections are in the light, where I can just add white to my colours. So for these stronger orange sections, I use this orange plus white. For these cooler passages, I use this orange plus Viridian plus white. For the really light sections, I just added white to this cooler mix. To get that really fluffy effect, I needed to make sure I had enough paint on my canvas so I could pull sections into each other. White is naturally quite a stiff colour, and as long as I didn't add any medium to it, I could really pull and push it about without any loss of control. The painting was completed in 12 hours, but I split this up into 4 lots of 3 hours. I find I will start to lose concentration if I work for too long, and fresh eyes to a painting always helps me to not lose objectivity. In the time I have been painting, my process has evolved many times, and I am sure it will continue to evolve. I have also dramatically speeded up, and am much more confident with the paint now than I was. This is all down to practice. It is a real learning journey and one that you cannot rush. I think it is important to not compare yourself to other artists or their processes because it is impossible to know their journey, plus we all learn at different speeds. The trick is to just keep practicing, doing your best for every painting, and you'll naturally get quicker and more confident as you develop. I hope you have enjoyed today's video and found it useful. Please like and subscribe if you can, and check out my website sarahhallidayart.com, where you will find examples of my work and also details of online classes that I run. Thank you for watching and see you for the next one.